Hi guys, I have another Glorney game video for you. In this one I was white against Bullen from Wales, and I had another Clarke e4 c6, and in my previous video I showed you my game against Conor O'Donnell, and yeah, I played my knight e2 idea and I won. Pretty nice game. And so yeah, I tried it again here, knight e2, and this is where my opponent decides he plays bishop f5, which, if you do play this knight e5 move, a lot of players will play bishop f5, because if you go into the main carrow, something like d4, d5, e5, and bishop f5 is pretty much an automatic move. Whatever white does, you know, even if he goes something like knight f3, d5, e5, you know, or it might even play bishop g4 here, but bishop f5, the black player would really consider. So this is why after knight e2 I get a lot of people that play bishop f5 here, which is not the most accurate move. The best move is actually to go c5, which doesn't. It's a hard move to find c5 because you've gone c6 and now you're going c5, and basically, well, we can just go d4 here, and I'll probably do a vid. I think I've done a video on this on the knight e2 Clarke. It should be on my channel, so you can go take a look at this line if you want. But yeah, c5 is not. I hardly ever get this move, and I think I've only got it once before, because it is a hard move to find, and even against c5 white gets a good position. So after bishop f5, knight g3, bishop g6, h4, and now h5. Okay, well, there's two moves. Obviously black can play h6 as well, but both lead to the same thing. I'm just going to go h5 against h6, force the bishop back, and then the same thing, d4, bishop's coming to d3. And in the game, my opponent decides to play h5 straight away. Okay, now let's go e6. Now d6 takes d4, and once again we still have the same thing going on here. I'm going to go bishop d3, and I'm going to really attack these weak squares in g6. And maybe even h5 is worse now, because when this bishop comes off, this pawn on h5 is always going to be very weak. So my opponent play queen d6, and now I'll play f4. I don't want to allow my opponent time to break out of e5, so maybe this is a good way for him to play, because normally a lot of players will just play the automatic knight f6 first, bishop d3, takes, now queen d6, now f4, and this is the sort of position I really like to get. However, by playing queen d6 first, in this position, I don't really have time to play something like bishop d3, because if bishop d3, then you can just take and play something like e5, and already black's going to become really active here. So this is exactly not how to not play this this variation. Okay, so against queen d6, I played f4 once again, just stopping this e5 break. F4 is very crucial in these lines. Okay, knight f6 comes in now, bishop d3, and now my opponent came up with an interesting idea. He goes bishop to f5, and yeah, I thought this is sort of quite clever, because now if I take on the f5, then this pawn obviously is going to recapture, and then this bishop's going to be able to get out eventually. So yeah, I thought this bishop f5 move was fairly decent, because obviously if he takes on d3, this is what I want him to do. I can take, and yeah, black's position looks like a real mess. I'm just going to get this knight into the c5 square, as I discussed in the previous video, and white's going to get a really nice position. So after bishop f5, I decided to take on f5. Now after pawn takes f5, I just took back my pawn. Bishop takes f5, and okay, so I allow him to play e6, bishop check, king d7. But if you look at the position, I still think I have a really nice position. This bishop may be able to come out now, but I have got my pawn back, and I have a really nice control of the e5 square. So this variation isn't all about just blocking in this bishop. You know, if I can get the pawn back, then great, and especially with interest too, because I have such a fantastic position now. Okay, so I castle, I protect the f4 pawn, so now my knight can come around to f3 and then into e5. Knight a6, which seems a very slow move. I don't really see the idea of knight a6. If he goes back to c7, it's not really doing much, and he can't come to b4. I'll just play something like c3, and it's going to go back again. So knight a6 didn't really make much sense to me. I just continued, knight d2, knight g4, knight f3. So obviously after knight g4, my opponent's hoping of maybe creating some threats on h2, and also knight e3 is now a threat. So knight f3 just deals with all these really nicely. I'm now ready to play knight e5 next move, and now there's no knight e3 because the bishop protects this square, and my bishop's also protecting this pawn. Bishop e7, and okay, so as you can see in this, well, as you're about to see, although this bishop may be able to come out to f6, or in the game it never manages to get out because of how strong these pawns are, and this outpost on e5. So obviously my next move is going to be knight e5 check, knight takes, and after f takes e5, attacking the queen goes back, and already you can see that this rook is an absolute monster. This rook's going to have a really hard time getting out. This knight's offside, this knight's not really doing anything. I've already got a bishop in the game, this pawn's also very weak, and this bishop could come into g5, and then my queen could come in, my rook can swing across, and yeah, my attack flows really nicely here. So instead of playing rook f8, rook f7 first, well, if I go rook f7 he might have something like rook f8 here, and this is not what I want to do. Yeah, okay, I can win a pawn, but now he's starting to get a little active. He's now got control of this this f5, and this just seems like taking unnecessary risks. I mean, this is probably still good for me because I've got bishop g5 coming, but maybe you can just go rook g8 again. He goes rook g8, and now I'm probably forced to swap rooks. The queen comes in, attacks the bishop. Now this rook's going to come swing over, and he might just be able to hold this position. So instead I just played bishop g5 straight away, because obviously if he takes the bishop, I'm just going to recapture, and then my rook's already ready to come down into f7, and this pawn actually proves to be a monster in the game. So yeah, my opponent did take, I recaptured, queen comes to d8, attacking the pawn. I played rook f7 check, king c8, now queen d2. So I don't want to allow any of his pieces off his back rank, because I need to protect my pawn, and now I'm ready to swing this rook over. My queen could also come to f4 if needed. He goes h4, which is, I don't think he doesn't have time to play a move like this. h4 is really not threatening anything at all. You know, he can go h3, but what's he doing? h3, he might try and open up a rook file here, or after h3 I'm just going to go g3, h2 check, just put my king in the corner, and he hasn't really achieved anything. So it seems like he's wasting time here, and I guess he's already accepted that he's very much lost in his position. Okay, so I continue rook af1, and that goes back to c7, queen to f4, b6, now I can take on g7, making way for my queen to come in, rook g8, and now I just found a way just to simplify here. I just take, bishop f7, queen h8, queen f6, and after king b7, pretty sure this is forced, and now g6. Now you see the reason of by taking here with my pawn on g5, this pawn is going to promote, and this is what won me the game in the end. So nice easy win, bishop takes e6, rook h6, and after rook f7 check, my opponent resigned. This pawn cannot be stopped. Well, it can be stopped, but he has to start sacrificing, he has to lose his knight. So after his king moves, I'm going to go bishop d7, attack the knight, and he's going to have to give up his knight in order to stop this pawn. And so my opponent resigned here. So there's another nice win for my knight e2 line against a Caro. Nigel Short has also played this line. I've seen a couple of his games, so it's obviously a decent line of top grandmasters play it also. So if you are interested in learning this line, I do recommend looking at my video I did on it, and yeah, hopefully you guys can get some good wins with it also. So thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.